Day 1 checked his scanner for the third time in an hour. Nothing, just empty space and distant stars. He had been flying patrol routes for the Valtheris Empire for 6 years now, and every single day felt exactly the same. His small scout ship hummed quietly as it drifted through the dark. The war with the Crodath Collective had been going on for 300 years. Daiwan's grandfather fought in it. His father died in it. Now it was his turn to sit in a cockpit and watch sensors that never showed anything interesting. The two empires had been fighting for so long that nobody even remembered why it started anymore. They just knew they hated each other. Scout 7, report status. A voice crackled through his communication system. All clear, Command. Sector 9 is empty, Daiwan replied. He stretched in his seat and yawned. Another boring day in the Forbidden Zone, the area of space between both empires where neither side was supposed to go. Of course, both sides sent scouts there anyway. Everyone broke that rule. Daiwan was about to turn his ship around when his scanner beeped. He sat up straight. There was something out there. The reading made no sense, though. It wasn't a Valtheris ship. It wasn't a Crodath ship either. The energy signature was completely different from anything he had ever seen. Command, I'm picking up an unknown contact. Permission to investigate? There was a long pause. Negative, Scout 7, return to base immediately. But Daiwan was already curious. The reading was coming from a nearby planet, one that all the maps listed as dead and lifeless. He changed course slightly just to get a closer look. Just for a minute, Scout 7, did you copy? Return to base now. Copy that, Command. On my way, Daiwan lied. He switched off his long-range transmitter. He would turn it back on in a few minutes. They would be angry, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear of getting in trouble. The planet grew larger in his window. It was gray and covered in craters. No atmosphere, no life, nothing. But his scanner insisted there was an energy source down there. Daiwan brought his ship lower, flying over the dead surface. Then he saw them. Structures, ancient buildings half buried in dust. They were made from materials he didn't recognize, and their design was unlike anything from Valtheris or Crodath architecture. The buildings formed a circle around a central plaza, and in the middle of that plaza something was glowing. Daiwan landed his ship nearby. He knew this was stupid. He knew he should call for backup. But something pulled him forward. He put on his environment suit and stepped out onto the planet's surface. The gravity was lighter than he expected. He bounced slightly with each step as he walked toward the glowing object. As he got closer, he realized it wasn't an object at all. It was writing. Symbols carved into a massive stone, glowing with a soft blue light. The symbols were old, incredibly old, but somehow Daiwan could read them. They seemed to shift and change, translating themselves into his language as he looked at them. Warning to those who come after, the writing said. The sleeping guardians watch still. Those who walked between stars before memory shall return if you forget their lessons. War is the path to silence. Unity is the path to the stars. We were here. We loved you. We are waiting. Daiwan felt his skin turn cold inside his suit. What did this mean? Who wrote this? He took pictures with his suit's camera, documenting everything he could see. His communication system suddenly burst to life. All units, all units! Crodath fleet detected entering the Forbidden Zone. This is not a drill. Daiwan's heart jumped. He ran back to his ship as fast as the low gravity would let him. He launched himself into space just as massive warships began appearing in the distance. Both Valtheris and Crodath fleets were arriving, and they were heading straight for each other. The space around him filled with ships. Hundreds of them. Both sides had sent everything they had. Energy weapons started firing, turning the darkness into a light show of death. Daiwan tried to dodge between the bigger ships, tried to find a way out. All scouts, retreat to jump distance. Command was shouting now. Capital ships are engaging. Daiwan pushed his engines as hard as they would go. Behind him, massive vessels exchanged fire. Ships exploded into clouds of debris. The scale of the battle was bigger than anything he had seen before. This wasn't a small fight. This was both empires trying to destroy each other completely. He finally reached safe distance and jumped away to faster-than-light speed. But even as he escaped, he couldn't stop thinking about those words on the dead planet. Those who walked between stars before memory shall return. On the other side of the galaxy, Hana sat in her small office reviewing old data files. She was an intelligence officer for the Crodath Collective, and her job was to find any advantage against the Valtheris Empire. Most days this meant reading boring reports. But today she had found something strange. In the oldest archives, there were references to something called the First Teachers. The records were damaged and incomplete, but they all mentioned the same thing. Long ago, before either the Valtheris or Crodath had ships or advanced technology, someone had come from the stars. Someone had taught them. The ancient texts called them humans, or sometimes just the tall ones. They were described as strange beings who could do impossible things. They could move between stars without ships. They could heal any injury. They could create food from nothing. Hana had always thought these stories were just myths. Every civilization had creation legends. But the more she read, the more details she found. These stories appeared in hundreds of independent sources. They all described the same beings. They all used the same name. She pulled up a linguistic analysis program and ran the word human through it. The program searched for any mention of that word in all Crodath records. To her surprise, it found thousands of references. Most were dismissed as folklore. But some were different. There were astronomical charts showing a region of space beyond the galactic rim. Every chart had the same notation. The silent realm, do not enter, they watch from there. Hana felt a chill run through her body. Who watches? And why did both empires avoid that region of space? Her computer suddenly flashed red. Emergency alert. Full fleet deployment ordered. All personnel to battle stations. Hana looked at her screen in confusion. What was happening? Then she saw the reports. The Valtheris Empire had sent their entire fleet to the Forbidden Zone. The Crodath Collective was responding with everything they had. This was it. After 300 years, this might be the final battle. One empire would win. One would be destroyed. But as Hana gathered her things and prepared to evacuate, she couldn't stop thinking about those old stories. About beings who walked between stars. About teachers who came from beyond the rim. In a small library on the Valtheris homeworld, an old scholar named Sung Min was reading by candlelight. He preferred candles to electric lights. They reminded him of simpler times. Sung Min studied forbidden history, the kind that the Empire didn't want people to know about. He had spent his entire life collecting banned books and hidden records, and in all those years he had learned one important truth. Humanity was real. They had existed. And if the old texts were right, they were still out there somewhere, watching and waiting. Sung Min looked up at the stars through his window. Somewhere out there, beyond all the fighting and dying, the teachers were sleeping. But the ancient warnings all said the same thing. If their children forgot the lessons and destroyed themselves, the teachers would return. And Sung Min suspected that day was coming very soon. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, the largest warship in the Valtheris fleet. Through the massive window, he could see hundreds of ships forming battle lines. On the other side of the star system, the Crodath fleet was doing the same. All weapons charged and ready, Captain, his tactical officer reported. Jinwoo nodded slowly. He had fought in 17 major battles during his career. He had won most of them. But this felt different. This felt final. Both sides had brought everything they had. There would be no retreat today, Captain. The Crodath are hailing us, his communications officer said. Put them through. The screen flickered and showed the face of Commander Bora, the leader of the Crodath fleet. She was known throughout the galaxy as the most ruthless warrior in their military. Her face was covered in scars from battles she had survived. Captain Jinwoo, she said coldly, you have entered our territory for the last time. Today the Valtheris Empire ends. This is neutral space, Commander, Jinwoo replied calmly. Neither of us should be here. We can still turn back, Bora laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Turn back? We have been at war for 3 centuries. There is no turning back. There is only victory or death. Then I suppose we understand each other, Jinwoo said. He closed the communication channel. He looked at his crew. Young faces, most of them. They had been training for war their entire lives. All ships prepared to engage. May the stars guide us. The Crodath fleet moved first. Their capital ships fired massive plasma cannons that lit up space like new suns. The Valtheris ships responded with railguns that fired metal projectiles at impossible speeds. The battle began. Ships exploded. Debris filled the space between the two fleets. Jinwoo watched as one of his escort vessels was torn apart by Crodath missiles. Hundreds of lives gone in an instant. Return fire. Target their command ship, Jinwoo ordered. The Eternal Dawn's main weapon charged up. It was called a planet cracker, because that's exactly what it could do. The weapon could split a world in half. Jinwoo had never used it before. He had always thought it was too terrible to use. But today was different. Today was the end. Firing solution locked, Captain. Fire. The weapon discharged with a sound that shook the entire ship. A beam of pure energy crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. It struck Bora's flagship dead center, but the Crodath shields held. Barely. Their ship was damaged but still fighting. They're charging their reality distortion weapon. Someone shouted. Jinwoo felt fear for the first time. Reality distortion weapons were banned by both sides. They could tear holes in space itself, creating tiny black holes that consumed everything nearby. Using one meant you were willing to destroy everything, including yourself. Brace for impact. Jinwoo yelled, but the impact never came. Instead, everything stopped. Every weapon on both sides suddenly shut down. The massive energy beams disappeared. The missiles froze in space. Even the ship's engines went quiet. What's happening? Jinwoo demanded. Engineering report? I don't know, sir. All our systems just turned off. I'm not even touching the controls. Youngsu, the communications officer, suddenly gasped. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's broadcasting on all frequencies in both our languages. Play it, a voice filled the bridge. It was calm, almost sad. This ends now. Who is this? Jinwoo shouted into the void. Identify yourself. But there was no answer. Instead, something appeared between the two fleets. Ships, dozens of them appearing from nowhere. They were smaller than the warships around them, and their design was elegant, smooth, unlike the angular military vessels both empires used. They didn't look threatening. They looked almost fragile. Unknown vessels have created a barrier between our fleet and the Crodath, the tactical officer reported. It's some kind of energy field. Nothing can pass through it. Jinwoo stared at the strange ships. What are they? On Bora's flagship, the same confusion reigned. She had ordered her crew to fire on the unknown ships, but nothing worked. Every weapon system was dead. Even the backup systems wouldn't respond. Commander, they're hailing us, her communications officer said nervously. Put them through, now. The screen showed something that made Bora's breath catch. It was a person, but not Valtheris or Crodath. They looked different. Smaller, more delicate, with strange hair and unusual eyes. I am Hyunwoo, the person said in perfect Crodath language. We represent humanity. We request permission to board your vessel for diplomatic discussions. Bora felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not fear of death in battle, but fear of the unknown. Humanity? That's a myth. A children's story. Hyunwoo smiled sadly. We are very real, Commander. And we have been watching you for a very long time. We are disappointed in what we have seen. You disabled our weapons, Bora said. That is an act of war. No, Commander. We prevented you from committing mutual suicide. There is a difference, Bora wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Her weapons were still dead. Her ship was helpless. And if I refuse to let you board? Then we will wait. We are patient, but the barrier stays up until both sides agree to talk. Your war is over, whether you accept it or not. The same conversation was happening on Jinwoo's ship. He listened to the human named Hyunwoo explain the situation with growing disbelief. This is impossible, Jinwoo said. How did you disable our entire fleet? We didn't disable your fleet, Captain. We asked your ship's systems to stop working and they agreed. Ships don't work that way. They don't have minds. Not in the way you build them, no. But all technology responds to certain universal principles. We simply spoke to those principles in a language they understand. Jinwoo felt a headache forming. That makes no sense, I know. But Captain, we need to talk, both you and Commander Bora. We have things to tell you. Important things about where you came from and why this war is a mistake. We know our history, Jinwoo said firmly. No, Captain. You know the version of history your empires teach. The truth is much older and much stranger. Please, give us a chance to explain. Jinwoo looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give? Their weapons didn't work. Their engines were dead. These humans, these myths made real, had defeated both empires without firing a single shot. Fine, Jinwoo said. You can board. But I'm warning you, if this is a trick, no tricks, Captain. Just truth. That's all we offer. An hour later, Jinwoo and several of his officers stood in the docking bay as a small human shuttle arrived. The door opened and Hyunwoo stepped out, followed by 3 other humans. They were all small, barely reaching Jinwoo's shoulder. They looked harmless, but Jinwoo had seen what their ships could do. Harmless was not the right word. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Hyunwoo said. "I know this is difficult, but it's necessary." "Where did you come from?" Jinwoo asked. "The old texts say humanity disappeared thousands of years ago. We left," Hyunwoo said simply. "We went beyond the galactic rim to give you space to grow. We hoped you would learn to live in peace. Instead, you learned to build bigger weapons." "You're disappointed in us," Jinwoo said. It wasn't a question. Yes, very disappointed, but not surprised. Young civilizations often go through this phase. They discover power and immediately want to use it against each other. We did the same thing many thousands of years ago. "And what stopped you?" Hyunwoo's expression became sad. "We nearly destroyed ourselves. We came within hours of making our entire world uninhabitable. That experience taught us wisdom. We hoped you would learn the same wisdom without having to suffer as we did." "So you're here to save us from ourselves?" Jinwoo asked with a touch of bitterness. "We're here to give you a choice, Captain. But first, you need to understand what you're choosing between. Come, Commander Bora is waiting. We need to show you both something important." Jinwoo followed the humans through his own ship, heading toward the main conference room. As they walked, he noticed how the humans moved. They were graceful, precise, and completely unafraid. They walked through a warship full of potential enemies like they were taking a casual stroll. In the conference room, Bora was already waiting. She glared at Jinwoo when he entered. "So we're both prisoners now," she said. "You're not prisoners," Hyunwoo said patiently. "You're guests. There's a difference. Then let us leave. Not until you hear what we have to say. Please sit, both of you." Jinwoo and Bora sat down on opposite sides of the table. They glared at each other with 300 years of hate between them. Hyunwoo stood at the head of the table and activated a holographic display. Stars appeared in the air above them. "What I'm about to tell you will change everything you believe, but I promise you every word is true. This is the real history of your people. This is where you truly came from." The hologram zoomed in on a cluster of stars, and Hyunwoo began to speak. Both empires sent delegates to the human flagship for what the humans called a history lesson. Captain Jinwoo represented the Valtheris Empire. A young officer named Sejun came with him, chosen because he was known for his open mind. From the Krodath Collective came Commander Bora and her chief scientist Unji. The 4 of them sat in a large chamber on the human vessel. The walls were covered in displays showing stars, planets, and images they didn't recognize. At the front of the room stood a human named Tai Yang. He was older than the other humans they had met, with gray in his hair and deep lines around his eyes. "Thank you all for coming," Tai Yang said. His voice was warm but carried weight. "What I'm about to share with you is the true history of your civilizations. Some of it will be hard to hear, some of it will make you angry, but all of it is true, and all of it is documented." "I don't trust human documents," Bora said immediately. "You could have faked anything." "You're right," Tai Yang agreed. "Which is why we're not just showing you our records. We're going to show you your own." The displays came to life. Images appeared of ancient ruins, artifacts, and writing in languages none of them recognized. "These are archaeological sites from your own homeworlds," Tai Yang explained. "Buried under cities, hidden in mountains, sealed in caves. Your own scientists found these things but couldn't explain them. Most were locked away in museums or military archives because they didn't fit the official history." Yunji, the Krodath scientist, leaned forward. She recognized one of the images. "That's from the Eastern Vault on our homeworld. That place has been sealed for centuries. How do you have images from inside it?" "We built it," Tai Yang said simply. 12,000 years ago. We left messages for you to find when you were ready. You found them, but you weren't ready to understand them, so you locked them away." "Lies," Bora hissed. "Watch," Tai Yang said. The display changed. It showed a planet green and blue and beautiful. Primitive beings walked on its surface. They looked vaguely like the Krodath, but smaller, less developed. "This is your world, Commander Bora. 15,000 years ago, these are your ancestors. They had just discovered fire. They lived in caves and hunted with stone weapons." The image changed again. Now it showed ships descending from the sky. Human ships. The primitive beings looked up in fear and wonder. "We came to your world as explorers," Tai Yang continued. "We didn't know if we should make contact. We debated for years. Some of us said we should leave you alone, let you develop naturally. Others said we had a responsibility to help, to lift you up, to share what we knew. And what did you decide? Sejun asked quietly. We decided to help. We thought it was the right thing to do. The images showed humans walking among the primitive beings, teaching them, showing them how to grow food, build shelters, make tools. The primitive beings learned quickly. You were eager students, Tae-Yang said with a small smile. Both your species. We found the Valtheris ancestors on a different world a few centuries later. They were at a similar stage of development. We taught them too. The images moved faster now, showing the progress of centuries. The primitive beings learned to build cities. They learned mathematics and writing. They learned to work metal and harness energy. We gave you everything, Tae-Yang said. Language, science, art, philosophy. We shared our culture and our knowledge freely. We wanted you to become like us. We wanted you to join us among the stars. Jinwoo watched the images with growing unease. He could see Valtheris architecture in those ancient cities. He could recognize the shapes and patterns of his own culture in those early buildings. But there was a problem. Tae-Yang continued, his voice becoming sad. We gave too much too quickly. You learned to use our technology, but you didn't understand it. You could operate the machines we gave you, but you couldn't build new ones. You became dependent on us. The images showed humans walking through cities of the young civilizations. Everywhere they went, people bowed to them, worshipped them, treated them like gods. We tried to stop it, Tae-Yang said. We told you we weren't gods. We were just older. We told you to stand on your own, to learn and grow without us. But you didn't want to. Why struggle to learn when the humans could just give you the answers? Eunji felt her stomach twist. She could see where this was going. It took 5,000 years before someone asked the question, Tae-Yang said. If humans were so great, why did they rule over you? If humans had given you everything, didn't that mean you were slaves? Weren't you just pets to amuse your masters? The images showed protests, riots, young civilizations rising up against their teachers. We tried to explain that we weren't your masters. We tried to show you that you were free. But by then it was too late. You had convinced yourselves that we were oppressors, that you needed to overthrow us to be truly free. Bora watched the images with growing understanding. There was a war. Yes, Tae-Yang said quietly. A terrible war. 300 civilizations united against humanity. You had our weapons, our ships, our technology. You thought you could win. The images showed massive space battles, planets burning, stars going dark. It lasted 3 years, Tae-Yang said. In that time, 1.7 trillion beings died. Entire worlds were sterilized. 3 star systems collapsed. It was the worst war in galactic history. Who won? Sejun asked, though he already knew the answer. We did. Of course we did. We had 10,000 years more experience than you. We knew secrets of technology and warfare you hadn't even imagined. We could have destroyed all of you in a week if we wanted to. But you didn't, Jinwoo said. No, because we loved you. You were our children even if you hated us. We couldn't bring ourselves to destroy you no matter what you did to us. Tae-Yang's voice became thick with emotion, so we made a choice. We gathered all our ships and all our people. We left. We went beyond the galactic rim to a place you couldn't follow. We took all our technology with us, everything you had become dependent on. The images showed human ships leaving, millions of them, departing from thousands of worlds. You were alone, Tae-Yang said. For the first time in 5,000 years you had to survive without us. Many civilizations collapsed. Many died out completely, but some survived. You survived. Both of you. The images showed the Valtheris and Crodeth slowly rebuilding, rediscovering technologies, learning to stand on their own. We watched from far away. We saw you struggle and grow. We saw you slowly become independent. We were proud. We thought maybe finally we had done the right thing. Then why are you back? Bora demanded. Because you're about to destroy yourselves, Tae-Yang said bluntly. In the past 300 years you've been at war with each other. You've forgotten everything we tried to teach you about cooperation and unity. You've turned all your intelligence and creativity toward destruction. He brought up new images, battle reports, casualty figures, destroyed worlds, 70 billion dead in 3 centuries, 12 worlds made uninhabitable, resources that could have been used to explore the galaxy, to advance your civilizations, to make life better for everyone. All of it wasted on war. Eunji looked at the numbers and felt sick. She had known the war was costly, But seeing it all laid out like this, seeing the total waste, was overwhelming. We tried to stay away, Taeyang said. We promised ourselves we would let you make your own choices, even if those choices led to your destruction. But we couldn't watch anymore, not when the war was about to escalate to the point where both your civilizations would be wiped out. You're saying we were about to destroy each other? Jinwoo asked. Yes, both sides were preparing to use their most destructive weapons, reality distortion devices, stellar destabilizers, weapons that would have killed everything in this entire star sector. You were hours away from mutual extinction. Sejun felt his hand shaking. I didn't know it was that close. Your leaders knew. They just didn't care anymore. 300 years of hate had made them willing to die if it meant their enemies died too. Bora stood up suddenly. This is all very dramatic, but what's your point? You're here to save us? You want us to be grateful? No, Taeyang said. We want you to save yourselves. We're just here to give you the chance. He waved his hand and the images changed again. This time they showed DNA sequences, genetic maps, complex scientific data. This is proof, Taeyang said. Genetic evidence showing that both your species were engineered by humans. Your DNA contains markers that only exist because we put them there. This isn't a story or a myth. This is science. This is fact. Yoonji stood up and walked closer to the displays. She studied the genetic sequences with expert eyes. She ran calculations in her head, and slowly her face went pale. It's real, she whispered. This is real. We were created by them. No, Bora said firmly. This is impossible. We evolved naturally. Our scientists proved it. Your scientists proved you evolved, Yoonji said, her voice shaking. But they never explained the gaps in the fossil record. The sudden jumps in capability. The genetic sequences that shouldn't exist in nature. We ignored those anomalies because we couldn't explain them. She turned to Taeyang. But you can explain them. Because you caused them. You altered our ancestors' DNA. You guided our evolution. You made us what we are. Yes, Taeyang said simply. Sejun looked at Jinwoo. The captain's face was gray. Commander Bora left the meeting feeling angry and confused. The humans had told impossible stories about ancient history and claimed both empires were created by them. She didn't believe a word of it. They're liars, she told her officers when she returned to her flagship. They want us to surrender without a fight. They're using psychological warfare. But Commander, one of her junior officers said carefully, they did disable our entire fleet without firing a shot. Maybe they're telling the truth? Don't be stupid, Bora snapped. They just have technology we don't understand yet. That doesn't make them gods. That doesn't make their stories true. She sat in her command chair and thought hard. The humans had ships, small ships. If she could capture one and study it, the Crodath Collective could learn their secrets. Then these so-called humans would lose their advantage. Navigator, plot a course to intercept the nearest human vessel, she ordered. Tactical, prepare boarding teams. We're going to capture one of their ships. But Commander, our weapons are still offline. We don't need weapons. We'll use boarding pods and take the ship by force. These humans are small and weak-looking. Our soldiers will overpower them easily. Min Seo, Bora's chief strategist, stepped forward. Commander, I advise against this action. We don't know what these humans are capable of. They're capable of making ships invisible and disabling our systems, Bora said. But they haven't hurt anyone. That means they're either weak or afraid to fight. Either way, we can take advantage of it. Or it means they're showing restraint, Min Seo said quietly. Restraint is weakness. Proceed with the plan. 10 Crodath boarding pods launched from the flagship. They were designed to latch onto enemy vessels and cut through the hull. Bora watched on her screen as they approached the nearest human ship. The human ship didn't run. It didn't even move. It just floated there, waiting. Target acquired. Boarding in 30 seconds, the boarding team leader reported. Then something happened that Bora couldn't explain. Every Crodath ship within the battle group suddenly went dark. Not just weapons this time. Everything. Life support, gravity, lights, communications. Everything shut down completely. Bora felt herself floating in zero gravity as the artificial gravity failed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in red light. Report, she shouted, but there was no answer. The communication systems were dead. She couldn't contact anyone. Through her window, she could see the same thing happening to every Crodath ship. Hundreds of vessels floating dead in space. Then, just as suddenly, everything came back on. Gravity returned. Lights blazed to life. Systems rebooted. A communication came through from the human ship. It was Hyunwoo again. He looked sad. "Commander Bo-Ra, we disabled your fleet for 3 seconds. In that time, you were completely helpless. Every person on your ships could have died. We could have destroyed you all without effort." Bo-Ra felt her face burn with shame and rage. "But we didn't," Hyunwoo continued. "Because we don't want to hurt you. We want you to understand. Please stop trying to fight us. You can't win. This isn't a threat. It's just reality." The communication ended. Bo-Ra sat in her chair, shaking with anger. But beneath the anger was something else, something she didn't want to admit. It was fear. On the Valtheris flagship, Captain Jinwoo was having similar thoughts. Unlike Bo-Ra, he hadn't tried to attack the humans. But his government was demanding answers. High Command wants to know whose side the humans are on, his political officer told him. They want us to force them to choose. Either they help us defeat the Crodath, or we consider them enemies. Jinwoo had expected this. His leaders couldn't accept the idea of a third party that refused to pick a side. To them, you were either an ally or an enemy. There was no middle ground. "Set up another meeting with the humans," Jinwoo ordered. "Tell them High Command has questions." Hyunwoo arrived on the Eternal Dawn an hour later. Jinwoo met him in the observation deck, where they could see both fleets floating in space with the human ships between them. "My government wants you to choose a side," Jinwoo said without preamble. "They want you to help us end the Crodath threat once and for all." Hyunwoo looked out at the stars for a long moment before answering. "Captain, do you have children?" The question caught Jinwoo off guard. "Yes, a son. Why?" "If your son and his friend were fighting, would you pick a side? Or would you stop the fight and try to help them understand each other?" "The Crodath are not our friends. They're our enemies. They're your cousins, Captain. Genetically speaking, both your species share 98% of the same DNA. You're almost identical. You're more similar to them than you are different." Jinwoo felt anger rising. "That's impossible. We're nothing like them." "You're exactly like them. That's why you've been fighting for so long. You both want the same things. You both think you're superior. You both refuse to compromise. So you're saying this war is our fault? Both sides equally?" "I'm saying this war is pointless," Hyunwoo said gently. "And if you force us to choose, we choose neither of you. We won't help either side destroy the other. We're here to stop the destruction, not assist it." "Then you're useless to us," Jinwoo said. "Perhaps. But let me show you something that might change your mind." Hyunwoo spoke into a communication device. Outside the window, one of the human science vessels moved toward a small moon that orbited a nearby gas giant. The moon was about half the size of Earth's moon, a dead rock covered in ice. "Watch," Hyunwoo said. The human ship didn't fire any weapons, it just positioned itself near the moon and seemed to do nothing. But Jinwoo's instruments started going crazy. "Captain," his science officer's voice came through urgently. "The moon, it's rotating backwards." "The entire moon is reversing its rotation!" Jinwoo stared in disbelief. Through the window he could see it happening. The moon was moving in the opposite direction, not quickly but steadily, undeniably. How? He couldn't find words. "Gravitational manipulation," Hyunwoo explained calmly. "We're using controlled gravity fields to alter the moon's angular momentum. It requires approximately 1.3 times 10 to the 23rd joules of energy to accomplish." A Valtheris engineer named Jiwon was monitoring from the bridge. She ran the calculations on her computer and felt her blood turn cold. "Captain, that's more energy than our entire empire generates in a year. They're using it casually, like turning on a light." The moon completed its rotation reversal, then slowly began spinning in its original direction again. The human ship moved away, leaving the moon exactly as it had been before, undamaged and unchanged. "We're not showing off, Captain," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We're trying to help you understand." The technology gap between us isn't just large. It's so vast that fighting us would be meaningless. We can do things you consider impossible. We can manipulate fundamental forces of nature like you manipulate pieces on a game board. Jinwoo sat down slowly. His legs felt weak. Why? He asked. Why show us this? Because you need to understand that we're not asking you to stop fighting because we're kind and peaceful. We're asking because we have the power to make you stop, and we'd prefer not to use that power. We want you to choose peace on your own, and if we don't, then we'll make the choice for you. We won't destroy you, but we won't let you destroy each other either. Ji-won left her station and approached Jinwoo. She had been listening to everything. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship movements, their energy signatures, everything we've observed. Sir, this isn't just advanced technology. This is technology from a civilization that's thousands, maybe millions of years ahead of us. 12,000 years ahead, actually, Hyunwoo said. We're not gods, we're just much, much older. We've had time to learn things you haven't discovered yet. Like what? Ji-won asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Like how to travel faster than light without ships. Like how to convert energy into matter and matter into energy with perfect efficiency. Like how to read the quantum state of any particle in the universe and know exactly where it is and what it's doing. Ji-won's eyes widened. That last one is impossible, quantum mechanics says. Quantum mechanics as you understand it is correct but incomplete, Hyunwoo said. There are layers beneath what you've discovered. Deeper principles that govern how reality works. Once you understand those principles, many impossible things become simple. Teach us, Ji-won said suddenly. If you know so much, teach us how to do these things. Hyunwoo smiled, but it was a sad smile. We tried that once, 12,000 years ago. We taught your ancestors everything we knew. We gave them technology, art, philosophy, science. We tried to uplift them too quickly. What happened? They grew dependent on us, then they grew resentful, then they decided they didn't want teachers anymore. They wanted to be free. So they attacked us, trying to destroy the ones who had given them everything. The observation deck was silent. Jinwoo and Ji-won both stared at Hyunwoo. We won that war easily, Hyunwoo continued. But it broke our hearts. We realized our mistake. We had given too much too fast. We had made you into children who would never grow up. So we left. We went away and let you develop on your own, hoping you would mature naturally. And instead, we spent 300 years killing each other. Jinwoo said quietly. Yes, and now we're back. Not to rule you. The news spread across both empires like wildfire. Humanity was real. They had created both civilizations. They had returned. And they were stopping the war. But not everyone was happy about it. On the Valtheris homeworld, people gathered in the streets. Some celebrated. Others protested. The government was in chaos with different factions arguing about what to do. We should welcome them, some leaders said. They're our creators. Our parents. We should fight them, others argued. They abandoned us. They have no right to come back and tell us what to do. We should negotiate, still others suggested. Find out what they want and see if we can work together. Captain Jinwoo and Sejun stood in the Grand Council chamber, presenting the evidence they had brought back. Genetic data, archaeological proof, historical records, everything Taiyang had shown them. An old council member stood up. Even if this is all true, what right do they have to interfere in our affairs? We are our own people now. We don't need parents anymore. They're not trying to be our parents, Sejun said. They're trying to stop us from committing suicide. There's a difference, is there? Another council member challenged. They disabled our fleet. They made our weapons useless. They're controlling us just like they did 12,000 years ago. Jinwoo stepped forward. I've seen what they can do. I've watched them reverse the rotation of a moon, using less effort than we use to boil water. If they wanted to control us, we'd already be controlled. They're showing restraint, for now, someone muttered. What happens when we refuse to do what they want? Nobody had an answer to that. On the Krodath homeworld, the situation was even worse. Commander Bora had returned expecting to be treated as a hero. Instead, she was arrested. You let the enemy disable our fleet, the High Command accused. You surrendered without a fight. I didn't surrender, Bora protested. I negotiated with a superior force to prevent our extinction. You believed their lies about creating us. You fell for their propaganda. Yunji tried to help by presenting the scientific evidence. She showed the genetic markers, the archaeological data, the mathematical proof that both species had been engineered. But the High Command didn't want to hear it. You're a traitor, they told her. You've been corrupted by human lies. They locked both Bora and Yunji in a military prison. But they couldn't lock away the truth. The evidence spread through Crodath society. Scientists studied it. Teachers discussed it. Young people debated it in schools and meeting halls. And slowly, 3 factions formed in both empires. The first faction wanted peace. They believed the humans were right. The war needed to end. They should work together with the Valtheris Empire and build a better future. These were mostly young people, scientists, and those tired of fighting. The second faction wanted independence. They didn't trust the humans. They wanted both empires to unite against humanity, to stand together and tell these ancient beings to leave them alone. These were mostly moderates who valued freedom above all else. The third faction wanted war. They refused to believe the humans were superior. They thought the whole thing was a trick, a conspiracy to make them surrender. They wanted to build new weapons, find human weaknesses, and destroy these interfering outsiders. These were mostly military leaders, nationalists, and those who had lost loved ones in the war. The 3 factions began to fight among themselves. Not with weapons yet, but with words and politics. Both empires fractured into competing groups, each trying to control the government. On the human flagship, Jae-sung watched it all with concern. He was the leader of the human expedition, and the weight of responsibility pressed down on him like a physical force. It's falling apart, Hyun-woo reported. Both empires are on the edge of civil war. Some want peace with us. Some want independence from us. Some want to attack us. What do you recommend? Jae-sung asked. We should leave. We're making it worse by being here. If we leave, they'll destroy each other. If we stay, they'll never learn to stand on their own. We'll repeat the same mistake we made 12,000 years ago. Jae-sung rubbed his tired eyes. There has to be a middle path, something between abandoning them and controlling them. But before they could decide, the radical faction made their choice for them. On a hidden military base in the Crodath Collective, scientists had been working on a secret project. They had studied the human ships from a distance. They had analyzed every sensor reading, every energy signature, and they had come up with a plan. We can't match their technology, the lead scientist explained to the military leaders. But we don't have to. We just have to hurt them, make them bleed. Show them they're not invincible. They had built a weapon, something forbidden, something terrible, a reality distortion device combined with a stellar destabilizer. If it worked, it would tear a hole in space-time large enough to swallow the entire human fleet. It might destroy us too, someone warned. Then we die as free people, the faction leader said, not as slaves to our creators. A young Valtheris pilot named So Young discovered the plan by accident. She was monitoring communications when she intercepted an encrypted message about the weapon. She immediately contacted Jin-woo. Captain, they're going to attack the humans, both the radical Crodath and some of our own people. They're working together. Jin-woo couldn't believe it. The Valtheris and Crodath working together. That's impossible. Not when they have a common enemy. Sir, we have to warn the humans. Jin-woo made a decision that would have gotten him executed a month ago. He contacted Commander Bora in her prison cell. Commander, I need your help. Bora looked surprised to see a Valtheris officer calling her. Why would I help you? Because your people and mine are about to do something incredibly stupid. They're planning to attack the humans with weapons that could destroy all of us. Good, let them die. You'll die too, Commander. Everyone will die. These weapons don't discriminate. Bora was quiet for a moment. What do you want from me? Help me stop them. We were enemies for 300 years, but maybe just for today we can be something else. On the other side of the galaxy, a Crodath reformer named Wu Jin was thinking the same thing. He had been part of the faction that wanted peace. He had tried to convince his government to negotiate with the Valtheris Empire, but nobody had listened. Now, with war about to break out again, he realized words weren't enough. Action was needed. He broke into the prison where Bora was held and freed her. Together, they stole a ship and raced toward the location of the secret weapon base. Why are you doing this? Bora asked him. Because I'm tired of fighting, Wu Jin said. I'm tired of wasting our potential on destruction. If the humans are right about us, if we really were meant to be better than this, then someone has to start being better. The radical faction launched their attack. Ships from both empires, working together for the first time in 3 centuries, converged on the human fleet. They fired every weapon they had, including the reality distortion device. The weapon tore into space like a wound in reality itself. It created a sphere of absolute destruction, expanding outward at the speed of light. Everything it touched simply ceased to exist, erased from the universe. The humans watched it come. They didn't run. They didn't hide. Instead, Jae-sung gave a simple order. Fix it. What happened next would be remembered for thousands of years. The humans didn't fight the weapon. They rewrote it. They reached into the fabric of space-time itself and changed the rules. The sphere of destruction stopped expanding. Then it began to shrink. The hole in reality closed, and every ship that had been destroyed by the weapon was restored, appearing exactly as it had been before, crews alive and unharmed. Every weapon that had been fired was teleported into the nearest star. Every ship that had participated in the attack found itself suddenly transported back to its home world, stripped of weapons but otherwise intact. And then Jae-sung spoke. His voice was broadcast across every communication channel in the entire sector, impossible to block or ignore. People of the Valtheris Empire and the Krodath Collective, I am Jae-sung and I speak for humanity. We didn't return to rule you. We didn't come back to be your gods or your masters. We returned because you were about to destroy yourselves and we couldn't bear to watch our children die. You want to be free of us? Prove you deserve it. Put down your weapons. Rebuild what you've destroyed. Learn to see each other as family, not enemies. Learn to use your gifts for creation instead of destruction. Do that and we'll leave again. We'll watch from far away, hoping that one day you'll join us as equals among the stars, not as our servants or our students, but as our peers. As our partners in exploring this vast, beautiful universe, but know this. We will not let you annihilate each other. That is not freedom. That is suicide. And we love you too much to watch you die. The broadcast ended. The human fleet began to fade, their ships slowly disappearing back into slipspace. On dozens of worlds, people stood in stunned silence. They had thrown everything they had at the humans. And the humans had simply undone it all, like parents cleaning up after children who had made a mess. So Young found herself working alongside Woo Jin on a reconstruction project. They were helping rebuild a space station that had been destroyed in the war, former enemies now working side by side. Do you think they'll come back? Woo Jin asked.